What's up guys, Hunter Konechny here. Today we are talking November bass fishing. So November can be a very interesting month. All around the country it's going to be pretty different. I mean, you have places like in the northern parts of the country that are really kind of setting into that winter pattern, and then like here in Arizona, it could dang near be argued it's still summer for other parts of the country. Our water temperature is still over 70 degrees in a lot of lakes. So there's a lot of different variability, and there's a lot of different ways to catch them. And generally the fish are going to be pretty aggressive, so it's a great time to get out there and you can really have a lot of fun doing it. So I'm going to get into it and kind of cover a bunch of different bases here. So let's kind of start out first with what the fish are doing and where you're most likely to find them. So this time of year they can really be in kind of a lot of different areas. They're generally going to be kind of willing to move pretty far. They can get into schools and they can get in kind of that schooling mood. They can be in open water, they could be shallow, they can be deep, they can really be in kind of all parts of the lake. And the reason behind that is they're really going to be feeding aggressive this time of year. So they tend to get on those shad and different bait fish like that and really trying to load up before the winter there. So they're eating very aggressively right now, which is good because that oftentimes means that you can catch them easier and it's more fun, and you can throw the baits that's fun to catch them. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. I'm going to kind of go down that list, but to start out, if you're like I said, in Arizona, we're still pretty warm water here. This is kind of more like the beginning of fall. This isn't even really the middle or getting towards the end. Like, we're kind of just really getting out of that summer pattern, it seems, at some of our lakes. And there's a lot of lakes where it just seems like the fish haven't really moved even shallow yet. They're still kind of deep and haven't really got set too much into that shallow pattern. That in mind, some of the best areas I would look to start with, it's never a bad idea to start shallow this time of year. So give that first hour a try. You could maybe throw some top water, throw some shallow diving crankbaits, things like that, and just see what happens. If it works, usually you can kind of grind that bite for quite a while. If it doesn't, then you got to move deeper. And a lot of the baits we're going to kind of talk about today is going to be more towards that deeper range. But it's not a bad idea to start shallow, and then you can always move deeper from there. So the backs of the coves, any trees, vegetation, things like that is always a good place to look. And then if that fails, your secondary points, if there's any offshore humps, ledges and things like that can be a great thing this time of year. Because what happens, say you got a ledge that's kind of a flat and 20 feet, and then it drops off to whatever, 40, 50, 60. Those fish will kind of stage on that edge there, and a lot of times there's going to be shad in proximity to that, so that can really be a good place to look as well. But your typical deep structure, so your points, rock piles, humps, ledges, things like that is always going to be good this time of year as well as the shallow stuff. So to get into the specific baits, let's start off with crankbaits, and then we're going to kind of work our way through it. So with crankbaits, like I said, that square bill is always going to be good this time of year. If you can get on those shallow fish, this is one of the best ways to do it. It's a lot of fun. Hookup ratios tend to be pretty good. It's just a fun bait to throw, and you can get this thing through some pretty heavy cover. So square bill, I like to keep my colors pretty natural and clear water. If you got super dirty water, you can add a little bit more boldness to it. And then I also like to keep it pretty silent for the most part. Our lakes get a lot of pressure around here, but if you are fishing super dirty water, then having those rattles in there can help as well. And then a medium kind of depth crankbait, and to some of you guys this would be a deep diver, but our lakes are all deep, so I look at this as more of kind of a medium diving crankbait. But this is the Tactical DD75. This one works really good shad imitating profile. This is just something that you should have in your box, and I've had a lot of success on. It's been fun throwing it. And then that deep diving crankbait, so like I said, there is a good population of fish that are just deep right now that are really gorging on those deeper shad, and a deep diving crankbait is something that can really work well for that. And I've had a lot of success. I won a tournament last year doing it, so deep diving crankbait's a good bait to have and something you should be throwing. This right here is the 6 cents 500 DD. So there is shallower versions as well. If you're somewhere where your lakes aren't as deep as ours and you need something, I think this one goes like 22 to 24 feet. Maybe you need it to go 15 feet. You kind of just match the depth that will kind of reach that. And you always want to go deeper than what the bottom is if possible, because you want these things really kind of grinding in the rocks, and every time it hits something it'll kind of hunt, do things like that. So deep diving crankbait, should be throwing it. And then to kind of tag on to that, so this one is one that I don't see a lot of people or hear about too many people doing, especially in the lakes around us, but the lipless crankbait and bottom hopping it specifically can really work good this time of year. And on top of that, it catches big fish. So this is kind of a little secret there. And like I said, this time last year we caught some good fish doing it. So this one specifically is a Lucky Craft LV500. Another good one is the Jackal TN70. That's another one that I've thrown a lot. The way you're gonna do this, you cast that out, you let it sink to the bottom, and then you're just gonna rip it up, almost like fishing like a flutter spoon. So you rip it up, you let it sink back to the bottom, you rip it up, you let it sink back to the bottom, and you just kind of yo-yo that thing all the way back to the boat. You're gonna want to throw these on your structure spots, so like your points, your humps, rock piles. You can even work it down steep banks, things like that. But that's kind of a little hidden secret that catches some big fish. So I will be throwing this a lot this year, and I'm sure you'll see that in some of these videos. But another hidden little secret there that works good. To kind of tag on now, so that kind of covers the crankbait aspect of it. But another bait that is really effective right now, if you've seen any of the Alamo videos, and there's more coming out soon here for our championship videos, you've seen me throw in the old jigging minnow right there. So this is really effective this time of year, especially when they're feeding on shad as heavy as they are. And the cool thing about this is you can really cater to whatever depth they're at. At Alamo, we were getting on a lot of schooling fish where they could be in 0 feet and they can be in 30 feet, and just kind of letting that sink down to whatever depth they're at, you catch them wherever they are. So something like a crankbait, you're kind of limited to, it only goes the depth it's going to go. This you can fish any depth in the water column, and you can do it very effectively. So this right here is the Crush City freeloader. It's just on a range roller head. A couple other heads I like is like the Picasso head, and I mean really kind of any ball jig head works fine. I don't really think it makes a significant difference, but I've been throwing this a lot on quarter ounce just because a lot of the fish I've been fishing for have been like 20 feet or deeper. But if you get any shallower than 20 feet, then I like throwing it on a 3/16. If you're fishing for like, I don't know, 10-12 feet or less, then an 1/8 ounce is perfect. So I just kind of change the weight depending on what depth I'm fishing, and then it works well. And then obviously the way you're going to fish this, if you have forward facing sonar, that's what I've been doing a lot, but you don't need it. You can definitely fish this in open water and you're still going to catch plenty of fish. Just throw it towards the more target areas, and if you bring this by fish, you're going to eat it just like if I was looking at them throwing at it. So your points, your humps, your rock piles, just places that fish would normally be staged up. If you get this thing to go by there, a lot of times they're going to come smoke it. So the way you fish it, cast it out, and if you see a fish and you're actively fishing one, that's a little bit different. But if not, you're just going to let it sink to the depth you want, and then you're just going to shake that rod as you're slowly reeling. So I try and make this thing move pretty slow, and then if you are going above a fish, you just want to try and keep it consistent. And if he follows it for a while, sometimes you can speed it up and do different things that might trigger the bite, but you're just going to kind of shake that thing on semi-slack line and just kind of keep it moving along, and it works well. Caught a lot of fish in the last month or so doing it, so not one you've heard me talk about before, but it made it to the list this time, so definitely something you should be doing. Hey guys, just wanted to take a quick second to remind you, I'm giving a reel away, so make sure you're subscribed. I'll be giving that away at 2,000 subscribers, and it could go to any one of you. So let's get back to the video. So next one, the Alabama rig. So I feel like this is a bait that's kind of been getting a lot of hate lately. Like, for whatever reason, people just don't like these anymore. I don't really know what it is. Like, a few years back, this was all the rage. Now, for whatever reason, people don't like them. But I can tell you I've been catching fish on them, and it's been working fine for me. So I'm throwing it in the list. It's one that's been tied on my rod since this time last year, and honestly I don't think I've ever cut it off because I've caught fish since this time last year on it, and it works well. And this time of year they're really on those bait fish and really schooling heavy and stuff. I mean, I caught a double at Alamo the other day on it, and it just works. I mean, you're throwing something that looks like a school of bait fish, and what they're eating right now tends to be schools of bait fish. So the Alabama rig, once again, is pretty versatile, and you can really fish at kind of any depth, like this minnow right here. I mean, you can have a lighter one, you can fish it in 5 feet, you can bird it up shallow on the bank, get a little bit heavier, and you can crawl that thing in 30 feet and still fish it effectively, which is a lot of times kind of how I'm fishing it, is on that deeper spectrum. But they just work. Some little tricks to kind of make it work better for you. So one thing I have noticed is using smaller swim baits tends to work better. So I think a lot of people, kind of the problem that they have is they're using swim baits that are too big, and it's bigger than the bait fish that are around there, and it's just too much mass, and it doesn't look as realistic as other options. So using smaller swim baits tends to work better. So the way I've been throwing it a lot lately is like with literally 3-inch easy shiners as the teasers, and then I use like a 3.3 Kitech as the hooked baits, which this one is slightly bigger. Those are the mares, 3-inch mares. So that's just kind of the upsized medium-sized version that I like to use, and then that's a 3.8 Kitech there. But either way, it still catches fish. If you're around a lot of bigger fish, then upsizing that tends to be the move that I like doing a lot. If you're around a lot of smaller fish, like we were fishing at Alamo, then having those smaller ones works better. So either way, it is something you should be throwing. It works well, and I'm still catching fish on it. I don't know what everyone else is saying around the world here, but the Alabama rig still works. So next one on the list, on top of those shad-eating fish, there's always going to be fish that'll eat a jig. So the jig tends to be something that you're kind of catering towards getting bigger bites on. And I mean, it works year round. There isn't really a month that there is ever a bad time to throw one. But you're going to want to throw this in your deeper water, so I'd say 15 plus feet. Rock tends to be key. So the one exception to that is our lakes do have fish structures, and that tends to load up on fish regardless of what the bottom composition is. So you can throw it in softer stuff around the fish structures, but if you're just kind of fishing around the lake, and then rock tends to be the key there. So anything rocky, so your points, your humps, ledges, even just kind of working it down bluff falls, steep rocky banks, things like that, a jig is going to get it done for you. And I keep the trailers pretty simple, so I either use like a Yamamoto hula grub, or a double tail grub like this, or I use like just like a Sweet Beaver or a D-bomb or something along those lines. So don't need to get too crazy. I like throwing either a 1/2 ounce or a 3/4 ounce if I'm fishing like 20 feet or less. 1/2 ounce works good. If it's more than 20 feet, I just like going with the 3/4. I just feel like it's easier to feel the bottom. It's a little bit more efficient. You're more connected with the 3/4 when you're over 20 feet. So should be throwing it. Lastly, the dang drop shot. So there's people that love it, there's people that hate it, but there isn't a month in the year where if you just need to catch a fish, the drop shot isn't probably one of the better options there. And there's plenty of big fish that have been being caught on them as well. So I mean, look at that 16 pounder that got caught this summer that I'm pretty sure was on that Morning Dawn robo worm there. So there is definitely big fish to be caught on them, as well as just numbers. But if you ever just want to go to the lake, have a good time and catch some fish, a drop shot is probably going to be your best way to do it consistently. There's baits that work good here and there, but any time of year, especially as we're kind of starting to approach the colder months, that drop shot works well. But other than that, comment down below if you have any topics you'd like to hear me talk about. So I'm going to try and start rolling some of these videos out a little bit more often. Been pretty busy with just fishing in general, and I haven't got to these as much as I want, but now that I got some light and I can do this in the dark, I can kind of do this whenever. So I can get these things whenever you want, so just let me know, what do you want to hear? But But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one.